about this, he claimed that there was a stable supply, a stable version of element 115, and that this element 115 was used to make some sort of a gravity field, and that was the method of propulsion that these crafts were using, and that they exhibited a method of flight that is very similar to the gimbal. The way he described it, and this is, again, in the late 80s, that this thing would be traveling and then it would turn and rotate vertically, and that it would then travel in, that would be somehow or another, this element 115 with this reactor would create this some sort of a field that allows it to bend gravity and bend space and time around it. And the way he described it is if the way it uses a propulsion system, you say if you had an incredibly heavy bowling ball and you put it in the middle of a mattress and it sort of pushes the mattress down, like that's what this thing is doing to space. And that instead of like firing flames out the back, it's doing something with this element that's allowing it to travel in an incredibly fast way. And when you listen to Commander David Fravor's depiction of that Tic Tac object, one of the things that's incredible is that they detected this object at more than 50,000 feet above sea level, and then it went from above 50,000 feet to 50 feet in less than a second, which is just bonkers. Like, who the fuck knows what could do that with no visual propulsion system, no visible, no understanding of like how this thing is moving around. But the fact that Bob Lazar was describing that actual method of propulsion back in the late 80s, it's trippy. I wish there was, if he's a liar, he's one of the best liars of all time. And what a great con he's been running, because he's been telling the exact same story the exact same way for more than 30 years. It's really crazy. And you don't know what to think. I mean, I talked to the guy, I had dinner with him, and then I talked to him on the podcast. And, you know, I like to think I have a fairly decent bullshit detector, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously a brilliant guy, a legitimate scientist, incredibly intelligent. And he would have been called out. And he kind of has about his education record, but he explained that to me. And I'll explain it to you afterwards, like what he told me that he doesn't want discussed publicly. But it's so strange that the way this guy was talking about these objects back in the late 80s is exactly how we're observing them behave today. And that he was saying that the United States government had these things in their possession and they were attempting to back engineer them. And they hired him, a propulsions expert, to try to figure them out. So that's element 115. So when you are watching this documentary and him explaining this and talking about Area S4, which is where he was supposedly working on these things, like what's your sense of that?
I try to stay agnostic in a sense, because I think probably like most people, like I want to believe it.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the
like,
problem.
It's super interesting. And a very deep part of me just was like, man, I want all of that to be true. It's super cool.
Yes.
And so in a sense, that's what kind of pushes me away from it, you know, because I don't have any tools to prevent that from taking over, right? Like I don't have any data or anything other than just that. But that's okay. That's what we've dealt with, I think, in the past. But, you know, I think and I believe and I hope that as we move forward, we're going to be dealing with this in a new way, right? It's going to be about planting flags and moving the conversation forward with data and science. And there's some, you know, another reason, again, this could be happening now is that there's just better tools, right? Our technology is getting better. We, in a sense, have, you know, another non-human intelligence on Earth with us right now, right? With our, you know, our advancement of machine learning and artificial intelligence, you know, that those tools might give us information, insight into these behaviors in a way that we wouldn't obviously put together, right? That's what ML does best. And so I see great I see great promise for us having a better understanding of some of these mysteries, kind of when we bring in that tool to show us things that we just, our brains aren't well suited to find those patterns.
So part of the problem with all this stuff is the fact that it's not openly discussed.
Yeah. And
I know that you were brought in for a hearing. No, was this in front of Congress? Is that what it was?
So, way back when this kind of got kicked off, I had a private meeting with...
It's so unbelievably compelling, though, to consider the idea that somewhere out there, there's another civilization that may be even more advanced than us. And this thought of it is just so attractive. It's incredible.
There should be, if civilizations are common, or even slightly common, then there should be civilizations ahead of us.
Yes.
Because there's been so much time.
But wouldn't you want to see what that's like?
Yeah, I mean, we've been
so compelling.
You imagine the timescales. We've been around as a civilization. Let's give it, say, 40,000 years. I don't know how long our civilization has been around. Let's say that. The galaxy is pretty much as old as the universe. It's 13 billion years worth of time. So the idea that there are no civilizations arose, 100 million years ago, 200 million years ago, 1 billion years ago. And imagine what they'd be like if they'd survived. I mean, we've been around, we've had science for, let's say, since Newton or Copernicus, 500 years at most. And look what we've done. We've gone beyond the solar system with Voyager. We've walked on the moon. We're about to go to Mars, I would think. So we're about to begin colonizing our own solar system. So we've done that in 500 years. So imagine a million years in the future. So it's one of the arguments often used to say there aren't any civilizations out there in the galaxy. It's called the Fermi paradox. Because if you imagine a civilization that's a million years ahead of us, they should have written their presence across the sky by now. You should see them. I mean, you'll see us. If we survive a million years into the future, actually even a few thousand years into the future, we will be exploring the galaxy. We will have spacecraft that are going to other stars. We will be doing it. So our signature will become visible, I'm sure, if we last into the medium term.
Would we choose to not do that? Here's my thought on that is uncontacted tribes. Like, do you know about the gentleman who was the missionary who visited North Sentinel Island and was killed by the natives? North Sentinel Island, which is a really unusual place because they branched off from Africa 60,000 years ago, and they've been living on this one small island the size of Manhattan. And as well as we know, there's only about 39 of them left, somewhere around there. Yeah. And we're not supposed to contact them. Like, people are not supposed. We're supposed to leave them alone, and they're a rare tribe. When they find them in the Amazon, the uncontacted tribes, our initial instinct is back off, leave them alone. Do you think that perhaps the universe, like if there is a civilization that's a million times more advanced than us and been around here for millions of years of life as opposed to 250,000, why would they let us know? Like, they look at us dropping bombs on each other and polluting the ocean and sucking all the fish out and putting clouds into the skies of dirt and particles. And why would they look at these crude monkeys? Look at that. They're so far beyond where they need to be before they could join the galactic civilization network or whatever.
It is true. It's an argument that there is an argument as well that technology is so advanced would be difficult for us to detect. I mean, we tend to think of, when you say written across the sky, I suppose it's true. I'm thinking of starships and things like Star Wars, right? Big energy things that you can see the signature of. But actually, it may be that the civilization just becomes a nano civilization, tiny little nanobot, because that's more efficient. It's a better way to do things. So it's possible, I suppose, that there are space probes all over the place that are so small and are so efficient and use so little energy that we just don't see them. I suppose that is possible.
Kyle Kalinske sent me something today. I wanted you to see, Jamie. It's there's some shit going down with UFO sightings.
Oh yeah.
I've been played before.
Well, yeah,
I
but
don't know that they were new.
Here, I'll send it to you.
I've been following this stuff.
Yeah, it's hold on a second, Jamie.
This thing.
All right, I just texted it to you. Pentagon officially releases UFO. This is the tweet. It says, new Pentagon formally released 3 mysterious UFO videos captured by Navy pilots. The already leaked videos showed what DoD insists on calling unidentified aerial phenomena, moving at incredible speeds and performing near impossible maneuvers. This is a weird subject because it's one of those subjects where people automatically dismiss it because it's been so touted by kooks. There's so many wacky fucks that have talked about UFOs that anybody talking about UFOs has to be out of their fucking mind. But then when you see these videos and you see them performing these impossible tasks, like these things are moving in a way that we've never seen anything move before, flipping upside down and sideways, moving at insane rates of speed. Like, they don't know what these are.
Yeah.
Aerial phenomena.
What's interesting, though, is I was reading one of these stories, and they passively mentioned that the sighting was near a U.S. naval technology station of some sort, like a top secret development. And I'm like,
that could be one of two things: either it's developed by the people that are at that base, or they're monitoring the people that are at that base. These aircraft, we call them aircraft, are displaying characteristics that are not currently within the U.S. inventory nor any foreign inventory that we are aware of. Maybe they see this shit that's going down with China and all the ships being moved and like, listen, you fuckheads.
The aliens?
Yeah. Maybe they're like, listen, you fucking morons, you territorial apes.
I'd like to think that, but...
You don't think so?
Manhattan Project, man. I mean, the U.S. has probably got some crazy motherfucking weapons. You know?
Could be, but the Manhattan Project was also, coincidentally, right after they started detonating bombs when the aliens started showing up.
That's what they think, right?
Yeah, well, that was when the bulk of U.S. sightings started jumping. And worldwide, I believe, too.
You know, maybe we've slowly been getting more and more information about this. I've been actually reading a lot of these stories over the past several months. More admissions from government, more release of documents, and more sightings. So there's been a big, I don't want to call it, well, a lot of people murmuring that April was going to be the month when we finally learn the truth. April's almost up.
It's almost up.
It's almost up.
We got like a few days.
Nah, man.
The 27th?
You know what I used...
More days is left.
Do you know...
30?
Do you know about what happened? Do you know about the O'Hare Airport sighting?
Which one's that?
So this was, I think, in like 2006 at Chicago's International O'Hare. A UFO came down and hovered above. I can't remember which terminal it was. It hovered for a few minutes, I think, and then shot straight, punched a hole in the clouds. Everybody saw it happen. Now, I had just quit working at O'Hare around this time when the sighting happened, so I had friends who were still there. I had a friend tell me that when this UFO came down, people on Mannheim Road, which is the road on the side of O'Hare, got out of their cars, like just stopped at the light, got up, and were looking and staring at it. And that the people who were working, where we worked for American Eagle Airlines, walked out of the rooms and were just staring at it float and then shoot up and punch a hole in the clouds. And you know what they said? Weather phenomenon. So there's a photo of it. A pilot took a photo of it. This is back when very early phone cameras, so it's a very grainy, awful picture.
There it is right there.
That's not it. No, that's super fake. I think...
I don't know.
No, these are all people trying to fake it. It's really hard to find. That one is not... That one might be it, but I don't think so. It barely looks like
Chicago
anything.
O'Hare UFO sighting 2006. Is that it right there?
I do not believe those are it, no. So
click on that article. See what it says, Jamie.
That's just some blog.
That one might be on the left, but so many people try exploiting this stuff for clicks and for views, and they make these fake photos. And
that link's not working?
I've clicked on it a few times.
It was a very, very faint photo from the cockpit. It might be that one right there in the middle. On the left side.
Far left.
It might be that one. No, that's not it. That's not it. Well, there was a really crappy photo of it, and
that might be it.
That might be. It was out of the cockpit of a window. A pilot took a photo, and I wonder where have all the sightings gone since phones became ubiquitous. I mean, there's a simple, I guess excuse. The aliens, they're sentient. They know we have phones. They're like, okay, stop, decloaking or whatever. But I wonder if, why is it there were so many UFOs and then around the time cell phone cameras come out, they're gone?
Well, I think most people are full of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think most people like to pretend they see things that don't really see things. But I don't think that excludes the possibility. It's not like it's not like these things are mutually exclusive. Like people are full of shit, therefore aliens don't exist. I think aliens could be real and people are full of shit. And I think that it's very rare that they visit us. But if they do, well, how often do scientists go to the Congo to study chimps? I mean, how many people do they send to the bottom of the ocean to look for new life forms? How rare is it?
Let me trip you out
on
that idea. We put decoys up for animals. Animals can't tell the difference. What if you've actually met a decoy person and you couldn't tell the difference?
Maybe it's you, bro.
Maybe it's me. That's right.
And that's why you're able to work so much.
Oh, yeah. I'm a robot.
You don't get tired.
No.
So you're interested in news and disseminating factual evidence.
Because what I'm actually doing is collecting a database for the aliens. No, but I thought about this because I saw a photo on Reddit of a puffin, I think it's called, the bird. Mm-hmm. And they put up a fake puffin. And it's because, I think they're called puffins. It's because the birds don't like, nesting in places where they're alone. Mm-hmm. And so by putting the decoy there, the other birds would start coming. And like one bird showed up and was hanging out with the decoy. And I'm like, could you imagine, like, you see, like, we put duck decoys in the water. We do duck calls. And the duck's like, ooh, hey, fly honey, I'm going to come over and check this out. And it's like a wood block. Could you imagine, like, seeing, like, a beautiful woman or someone you're attracted to and being like, ooh, look at that. And it's really like an alien decoy just to, like, probe you and, like, better understand you or something?
Well, the decoy, just the term decoy is weird because decoys are used for hunting. Like turkey, it's turkey season right now.
Yeah.
And the way most guys hunt for turkeys, they take a rubber turkey. You put that fucker out in the middle of the field, and then you hide behind a bush with a shotgun. You go, bark, 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 bark. And then the turkeys like hear it, and they come over and they try to get some pussy, and then they get shot.
So what if you see some dude and or it's like you see it for you, it'd probably be a beautiful woman. You want to get that pussy, and and then she's going like, hey, come over here, and you're like, oh, hey, me, and
then I get eaten.
No, they just take you up in the ship, probe you, and learn about your butt.
This is the thing about putting things up your butt.
Most kidding,
doctors don't even do that. Like they have MRIs now. Don't aliens need to probe you in your ass? I think it's just what everyone's afraid of. They're afraid of things going in their ass. So that's what they think is going to happen if the aliens get them. They're going to freeze me and touch my ass. Woo.
Somebody told a dumb story back in the day, and it was the most sensational version. Everybody had to have it, so they were like, that's what they went with.
Maybe they do that to keep your mouth shut. They fuck you in the ass just so you keep your mouth shut.
Or some dude actually got abducted, right?
Yeah.
And he comes back and he's like, they think they won against me. They think they beat me. They put stuff up my butt. They're weirdos.
Do you ever hear the story of Betty and Barney Hill?
No.
It's the very first UFO abduction story. It's an ancient story. And what's crazy is Angela Hill, who's a UFC fighter, I had her on the podcast. And after the show, she told me her grandpa was Barney Hill.
Whoa.
And I was like, holy fuck. Like we didn't talk about it during the show, but she wanted to bring it up because she knows I'm kind of obsessed with UFOs. But the account that they have, like they get hypnotized and he's recalling the abduction and they have like the same story. It's very terrifying. You hear him crying and screaming and that he was taken aboard this craft and examined and brought back and they have missing time. But here's the thing. If they only did that occasionally, they only came down once every few years and just scooped some person up in the middle of some rural place. Like if you're flying over, I think their instance was I believe it was in Maine. If you're flying over somewhere like Maine, which is a very low population state, and you see a lone car and it's just traveling along the highway, and there's places in Maine where you go from like Portland to Bangor. When you're traveling on that road, it's like 60 miles with nothing, not a gas station, nothing. If you were an alien and you saw a car by itself, you're like, no other car, let's move in, we got one.
Isn't it just easier to think it's the U.S. government?
No.
Why not?
Because we don't have the capability of doing something like that. I don't think the capability of the scientists working for the government is any different than the capability of the scientists that are working for Project X or, fill in the blanks in terms of like what Raytheon, publicly traded companies. How
long? Look, quadcopters don't seem all that complicated to me. Right?
Quadcopters.
Yeah. Like
helicopters?
Like drones. We've seen the little drone toys you buy. They got 4 propellers. Take that concept, use thinner, jets and surround it in a disc so that it's, universally like it can move in any direction because it's got, because it's omnidirectional.
What power source? Where's the gas tank?
Lithium-ion battery. Or
come on, man. You're talking space shit. Like hasn't even been invented yet. Think about how little mileage you can get out of a Tesla.
You know,
as advanced as Tesla is. It's still, when it's going full out, it can only go for. I mean, you get 307 miles if you drive like a grandma, but if you drive like a maniac, you don't even get half that.
You know that they. I could be wrong with this, but I'm pretty sure that they had this flying platform in the 70s that uses gas power, and they've also had jetpacks for a long time.
No, they've had sort of. They've had jetpacks that are capable of going for like 30 seconds. They don't. I've experienced.
No. I'm pretty sure the jetpacks back in the day went for a long time.
No, they definitely didn't.
We can look it up.
Yeah, let's look it up because they definitely didn't. The whole thing was the fact they were burning gas, and to propel you in the air, they only had a certain amount.
I thought it was like 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Maybe now.
My understanding of why we abandoned jetpack technology was that it was inefficient and heavy, and you couldn't carry it without it being turned on. So they opted for larger, what are they called? Chinooks. Helicopters that can carry multiple people at once. When you're wearing a jetpack, it has to be on idle, negating its own weight, which means it's burning as you're walking around, which means you get a good 20-minute jump and you got to abandon the tech. And then you don't want your enemies to get it.
Have you ever seen a guy fly a jetpack?
Yeah, there's a video on YouTube from a long time ago.
No, I mean in real life.
Oh, I've seen that one guy, the Iron Man dude.
Well,
not in real life.
I've been there in real life. My friend Willie B from in Denver on the radio.
Yeah.
He had a radio show in the morning. I used to do his radio show. I think he still has a radio show. Shout out to Willie. And he had this guy who was a jetpack pilot who came in the parking lot of the radio studio, and fans of the radio show came and did it too, and watched it rather. And this guy flew in the air for about 15, 20 seconds and then landed. This guy was so banged up, both of his legs were blown apart. He had big braces on both of his knees. I'm like, what happened to your knees? He's like, just crash landing. Both my knees are blown to shit. He had no ACLs in either one of his knees. But
that's what I'm saying.
It's
Jetpacks.
good this is back then. It was good for about 30 seconds. 30 seconds of flying.
Well, so the point I was trying to get to is if you take something like a quadcopter, you could absolutely fuel it with gas or
It'd be
whatever.
loud as fuck.
But it would depending on how you mitigate the noise.
It'd be an engine.
Yeah.
It'd be loud as fuck.
And you'd hear from the quad rotors.
Yeah, but what these people are describing is nothing like that. These people are describing things that are silent, that go from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour in a split second, things that defy physics as we understand them.
Yeah.
This is not something that I think that the U.S. government has. If you look at like Elon Musk company, Project X or SpaceX. SpaceX is right now one of the premier civilian companies, private companies that's making rocket ships. They fuck up all the time.
Totally.
They're in the middle of innovating all the time. He's one of the smartest people on Earth. He's one of in terms of technology, he knows as much about propulsion as anyone, and they still can't get it right. They're still trying to figure it out. They're trying to come up with something that could be viable in terms of commercial space flight, and they're working on it daily. And these people are the brightest minds we know of right now that are in this jet propulsion space travel business. There's, Virgin's working on something. There's a couple other companies that are working on things as well. And then you have NASA, which worked. The best they could come up with was the space shuttle.
Right.
Do you think that there was something way better than the space shuttle that they just never used, and that they had, and they kept it on the back burner, didn't want to let anybody know? But the way they would use it is they would pick people up and erase their memory and toy with their asshole. That's crazy.
Well,
that's less likely than the hundreds of billions of galaxies, just in our own known universe, right? Each one with hundreds of billions of stars. Each star with who knows how many fucking planets. That's somewhere out there that's something more advanced than us. Maybe 1,000 years, maybe 1,000,000 years. But that's figured out how to come here.
I got the same question then. Why hasn't anyone discovered them? Why has SETI failed? Search for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Why haven't the chimps invented guns?
They've started using more tools, but
right. Why haven't they invented guns though?
I don't know.
So why hasn't SETI found UFOs? It's the same fucking answer. They're not advanced enough yet. It's a real simple answer. The industrial age is pretty fucking recent.
Right.
I mean, you think about when people invented cars. You're talking about 1800. That's really recent.
And we've
plane
only used
flights 1800s.
High power radio transmission is only in the past 100 years or so.
Right. Well, you ever seen the movie Contact?
Maybe. That's an old one, right?
It's Jodie Foster and Matthew McConaughey. It's based on Carl Sagan's book about contact with space and with aliens, how it's going to go down.
I think I did see it recently. I can't remember.
Interesting take on it. But the idea is that they've received the signal that we sent out way back, in the day. Actually, when the first broadcast signal was Hitler announcing the Olympic Games, the start of the Berlin Games, and that this was the first signal they got. It was a really controversial moment in the movie, or controversy, in the plot, with that once they were trying to decipher the image that was being sent, they realized it was Hitler.
Yeah.
The first thing they see is a swastika, and they're like, "What the fuck is this?"
They sent it back to us,
and then they had to realize, "Oh no! This is the first image that we sent out to space." They wouldn't be able to understand the political or historical context of this, and
so I got a few. There's a few issues I see in terms of aliens and Earth contact. Right, we are substantially more connected, in an evolutionary chain to ants than we are to any alien. So we can't communicate with them. For the most part, we kind of can. We understand how they communicate. But when an ant sees a superhighway, this is someone else's quote, they don't think twice. So it's possible there are aliens that have superhighways right above us. We can't tell what it is. Same as a dog doesn't understand other than stay away from it. But one of the issues I think is often neglected in the conversation about aliens is we assume aliens would be on a very similar planet to us. We assume that they would have some kind of gaseous atmosphere. Perhaps it's a liquid atmosphere. And one of the things that I would ask of a researcher, because I'm not the expert, is the fact that we have the proper balance of oxygen in the atmosphere to manipulate fire, which allows us to separate elements and then create computers and components and fuels, wouldn't exist on a planet without the same atmosphere we existed in.
Stop. I can answer that really easily.
Yeah.
There's no known propulsion system for any of these crafts. These things are not using fire. They don't have a heat signal. They don't know what they are. They don't know how they work.
I don't mean propulsion. I mean the separation of elements, the manipulation of elements, right? So we melt things and separate them and break them down.
They don't believe that that's how it works.
No, but I mean, like, how do you even start from? I'm sure there's an answer. Let's say you have a species that lives on a planet with no oxygen and has no access to fire. What energy, what dense energy source do they have that will allow them to manipulate matter?
Do you know the Bob Lazar story?
I do.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that he talked about when he first stopped working for Area S4 and the government was tapping his phones, and there's a lot that can be documented about him. There's a lot that can't be. But one of the things that he talked about was a thing called element 115.
Right. That
element 115 is this insanely dense element that they use to bend gravity. And that the way he described the way the propulsion system works, it's like putting a bowling ball in the center of a very soft mattress, and that all of the other mattress, all the rest of the mass of the mattress bends around the intense mass of the bowling ball, and that this is how these incredibly advanced aliens from this other planet use. This is their propulsion system.
That was from Star Trek, though. The concept of warp was around for a really long time.
I think the concept is based on Einstein's theory of gravity. I mean, this is the whole idea. If you could find something that could do that. But here's the thing. When Bob Lazar talked about this in the late 80s, early 90s, this element didn't exist.
Right. Now it does.
It wasn't proven until they did it in a particle collider. I believe it was 2013. So he was talking about this element far before it was, and he's apparently, this is the big rumor, he apparently had taken some of that from a lab and through George Norrie, and was it George Norrie? Yes. They did some experiments on on television and showed that this stuff had made light and fog bend in a way that they couldn't describe.
Didn't he also claim to see a small alien creature on his way out?
He said he saw something that was sitting down, but he doesn't know if it was a model that they were using, like if they had created something that was supposed to be the size of a thing that could fit in these crafts, because these crafts, he said, were designed for things that were far smaller than human beings.
I'm pretty sure in the initial interview he gave when he went public was that he saw an alien, and then later on changed it saying, I don't know if it was maybe a model or a puppet.
Yeah, he said he thought he saw something sitting down and two people standing over it looking at it. He said he thought he saw an alien. But he's probably... I mean, I don't know. I mean, look, he said it was literally for like a half a second. Like he's walking by a window and he sees something inside of it. Imagine being a guy who's in your 20s and you're a propulsions expert, and it's been proven that he worked at Los Alamos Labs, and it's been proven that he did put a fucking jet engine. It's been proven that he did put a jet engine on a Honda. I mean, he's a genius. And you talk to him, he's an incredibly smart guy. Now imagine you get sent off to Area S4, and they show you this thing that you know doesn't even exist, and they tell you about this propulsion method that they don't understand, and they say that they found this a long time ago in an archaeological dig, and they want you to back engineer it because you're a propulsions expert, and they're running out of options. They've been studying this for decades. No one knows what the fuck it is or how you can make it work. And then they do test flights with this thing, and then he tells his friends about these test flights. After he gets fired, you know how he got fired? Do you know a story about him getting fired?
He leaked it or something, yeah?
No, his wife was fucking her flight instructor.
Oh.
And so when his wife was fucking her flight instructor, they told him he couldn't work anymore. And he's like, why not? Well, they were tapping his phone because when you have top secret clearance to work on UFOs, I guess they don't want your wife fucking her flight instructor, because then you're going to go crazy, right? And you have a lot of imbalance at home, right? So he doesn't know why. They don't tell him why. So he takes his friends and he tells them, listen, this is real. They're running these experiments. I know you're thinking I'm crazy. This is what I've been working on. So he takes them to this area where you used to be able to have access to, but once he did this, they closed off access and pushed it far back to where the public has access to. And he showed them these things doing these impossible maneuvers in the desert, in the night sky.
This I remember.
And so then he gets arrested. And so when he gets arrested, he was in fear of his own life. He goes public and tells this whole story. And then they erase his past. They erase his social security number. They erase his education background. Even though people that knew him and knew he worked at Los Alamos Labs, he takes George Norrie of a tour of Los Alamos Labs, knows the people that work there. They all say hi to him. He takes them on a tour around the laboratory.
Yeah.
Shows them around, shows them the devices they use for biometric security. And
I think the one thing you can't ignore is that there was documentation that he did work at one of these places.
Yes.
And they later claimed he didn't.
Yes.
And like I think I was watching the thing on, maybe it was Netflix. I think like he promoted that, right? It was on Netflix. They show the paper, like, we found it.
Yes.
Like he clearly was there.
He was in the employee register.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No.
But you know, for me, man, I'd love to believe it all.
He's been insanely consistent about that story.
Yeah.
For 40 years.
I want to believe. You know what I mean?
Or 30 years, whatever it's been. I want to believe too. That's the problem.
Man, Pixar didn't happen.
I want to believe, but that's nonsense. Pixar, it didn't happen is nonsense.
Well,
how do you what about Neanderthals?
No,
what about dinosaurs? There's no pics.
I'm more so joking, right? What I mean is,
I
show me the evidence, right?
I get it.
Let's, the challenge with any theory. I don't like saying conspiracy theory because they're not always conspiracies. Is that people want something to be true. And so they end up looking for things to justify what they think it already is.
Of course.
Instead of starting with what you've got and trying to figure out where it goes from there.
But when you start with what you've got a guy who was living in Vegas, was taking these flights out to Area S4, knows the place, knows it inside out, can describe it very accurately. Also worked at Los Alamos Labs, describes that very accurately.
Right.
Yeah,
it proves he worked there.
Yeah,
but
it also proves he's also a legitimate scientist.
But what
when you talk to the guy, he's a brilliant guy. He's not a nut.
Right.
But what?
Are you saying aliens?
That doesn't mean aliens.
No, I'm just asking. So
it doesn't mean aliens, but that's what he was told.
Right.
What he was told is this is something that has come from somewhere else, and they're trying to figure out how to work it, how to use it.
What if we're in a simulation? And this was something that was leftover code, or it wasn't supposed to be placed in this certain iteration.
Or what if there's multiple dimensions that we don't have access to?
Now, I'm not believe it or not, I'm not into UFOs. I don't follow stories or
even after your experiences.
No, I'm fascinated with the technology, and it irks me like every night I go to sleep that that it was my own doing essentially that prevented me from continuing on in the project. I mean, it's that to be on that cutting edge of technology is so alluring to me.
Right.
But by the same token, I don't really care that there's aliens or where they come from. I mean, the prize is the technology, and that's what I'm fascinated by. But so I don't listen to UFO stories and that sort of thing. But George Knapp is, he's the guy that has the contacts and tries to thread everything together. And what he recently told me is he found I don't know, it was either documentation or people that he spoke to. It's that the existence of this project, the project that I was on, it's something that they seem to take out every 8 or 10 years.
So that's a very specific memo, and this is actually, this is the first time I'll be very clear with people about it. It's a big topic of conversation right now. It's called the Wilson Memo. You can look it up. Admiral Wilson met with a scientist who's actually was featured in one of my films. Everybody has been debating whether or not this document of a conversation with a sitting admiral at the time is a real document. It's an actual conversation that happened, and this document is real. Everybody wants to know. The world is going crazy right now in the UFO world. I'll tell you straight up right now, I'm in the position to know, and it is a real document, that it is real. So the conversation you read in that conversation was had. I can't attest to every...
You're not being very clear.
Sure.
Please.
No problem. So there was a document that is circulating right now that is really big. It's going around everywhere. People are asking and wondering.
What is this document?
It's called the Wilson Memo, is how you can find it online, or the Wilson Leak.
There it is. Jimmy's got it. The Wilson Memorandum. Use of human volunteers.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that was it. Yeah.
No, that's not it.
Okay.
Yeah. So Admiral Wilson meets with this scientist, and they have this discussion, oddly enough, at special projects at EG&G. And if I remember, the document is from 2001. I'm telling everybody right now, it's real. And we'll see. My history is pretty good with saying if something's real or not, right? So here we go. The document comes out. They meet at EG&G Special Projects. In 1989, they stumble into a problem. This happens. They put the technology away, and then they bring it back out and see if material science has caught up and if they can make any progress. So this document kind of talks about this process. The big thing I get from it, and a lot of it's vindicating to Bob, and one of the things it's vindicating, besides the EG&G thing, is that private industry, so this guy's an admiral, and he says, I found out about your SAP, your Special Access Program. I need to know about it. And he's going to a private part of industry, and he is denied access. And he says, I should be running this program. And they were able to deny him access. So I think the takeaway here is, check it out. I'm telling you that is an actual correct, that is a leak. Now, everything said in that document, I don't know.
What are you talking about? What is said in that document specifically?
It's between a scientist and an admiral that are sitting, and they're having a meeting, and they're talking about the search for the UFO subject, the search to get Special Access Program access to all of these different things like reverse engineering programs. So in this document, they talk about it. I believe that this document, the person that went was employed by Robert Bigelow, one of the guys that has a couple of orbiting satellites and all that stuff.
He's the guy who owns Skinwalker Ranch.
No, he's not.
No?
He was the guy that owns
He used
Skinwalker.
to own it. Okay.
Yeah, he used to own it. There's a new owner, and I interviewed him for my other film, but there's a new owner, and you'll be hearing a lot more about that soon. But there's stuff that you'll be hearing about Skinwalker Ranch soon because there's a new owner. Anyway, the whole point of this insertion here is just that document kind of validates a lot of this idea Bob just said, that they make a little progress, then they can't go anywhere. They tuck it away, and then they bring it back out 10 years later and start working on it. What is the limiting factor? I think Bob should speak on this, but it's the material science.
Yeah, it's really where physics is. So I can see them doing that. I mean, I didn't have any information on that, but I think what George uncovered is probably accurate. That we try and do what we can, and once we reach a roadblock going, we really can't figure it out. It's just friggin' put the thing away, wait for science to catch up, and a decade later, let's take the project out again and see. All right, now where can we go?
But there's got to be someone who remains informed, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you've got your scientists like you and Barry. You got your people that you compartmentalize. You got these people working on this
there
project.
has to be some people that know everything.
You've got security, and then someone's going to be on the outside saying, hey, we need people to guard this building. Don't let anybody in for 10 years.
I think a lot of that is private industry, and I think that's how they keep it. Yeah, I think that's how they because the government is just so leaky. I think that's kind of what they're doing.
That's what the document kind of proves. You just articulated that it is in control of private industry.
What private industry? Some aerospace company, something.
I don't know.
Yeah, they wouldn't. The admiral wouldn't name it in the car
Right.
in the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
So they still have these things supposedly.
I would guess. I mean, I don't have any information on that.
Have
at
you
all.
ever asked anyone that has any inkling of any idea of where they got them or how they got them?
No, but something must have been said to me from Barry, but it was just too long ago, and I can't quite remember what was said, but it just left a seed in my mind. I think at least one of them was part of an archaeological dig. So it's old. At least one of them is old. I don't know if it was the one I worked on, but I remember something to do with an archaeological dig.
Whoa.
So that means it's not just old, it's ancient.
That'd be a great Steven Spielberg movie,
Yeah.
right?
As all of it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
That tripped me
as
out when he said that for the first time.
Yeah. That's a freak out right
Yeah.
there. Just a couple of dudes with some brushes looking for a Tyrannosaurus Rex bone. They
And-
hit metal.
And when did they find it? That they have 9 of them.
Yeah.
Well, and how could we have not heard about that? What about the guys with the brushes? How could
Yeah.
you uncover something like that? And
Well, Joe's newspaper at home does. I mean, they said it on that first day.
Oh, you mean the Roswell
Yeah,
Daily
yeah, the
Record?
one you told me, yeah.
Yeah, I have a cover. What is this here, Jamie?
This is the document, but I had to do some digging to find it.
Yes, it's just kind of. Yeah, so this is where they meet at EG&G, and this is Admiral Wilson, and there's a lot more coming out. Now, I want to be clear, George didn't put this out. He didn't leak this out to anybody. This is, I can tell you how
Who recorded this conversation?
So this was an employee of, at the time, Robert Bigelow.
And this is in 2002?
Right. Do you remember when he had that government contract called OSAP the world all knows about now, and he had NIDS that studied the ranch? So that $22 million, everybody is saying it was for ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. The $22 million was for OSAP that was pushed through Congress, 3 congressmen, right, an astronaut. It was pushed through. And that's what that $22 million, by the way, they spend more money on Viagra every year than they do studying UFOs, if it was just this program, which I think is funny.
They probably
in the
make a lot
military.
more money from Viagra
They
than
probably do.
from UFOs, too.
Well, you never know how it seeds into population. But anyway, this program, this is what was the mother program. So it got the $22 million. And really, it was to study Skinwalker Ranch. Oddly enough, that $22 million all was inspired by the phenomenon they were seeing at Skinwalker Ranch, because the scientists, they're seeing vehicles come through like a space in the sky.
Yeah, we went there. I went there
Right,
with Duncan.
yeah,
We interviewed a bunch of people that seemed full of shit, but a couple that didn't.
But
It was very, very interesting.
Totally. And if you look, I spent a lot of time in the area. I'm not talking about those stories. I'm saying there were scientists hired by the government, right, through Bigelow to study the ranch because they thought it was important. And, whatever. The point is that $22 million was to study that. Then we have ATIP, which is like an auxiliary kind of program of military sightings, like Commander Fravers and that sort of thing. This document is just one of those things that has now come forward that through the Bigelow studies, it was government funded, and then it was personally funded and then government funded. It's just one of those things that kind of shakes you, because you got this military guy who can't get access because of the private industry that's holding these non-terrestrial materials, that they can't study it. So that's the claim right now. Give it some time, let people dig more into this. It's fascinating, man.
You had encounters with Bob Lazar. You know Bob, and you were around when Bob Lazar first.
Now, is this going to be all about the Mylar balloon event?
What's the Mylar balloon event?
Oh, you don't know that one?
No.
So we all jump in my car to go out to the Alien Inn area out there, on
The Alien Inn, is that
out there at
yeah, it's like a
north
a
of
bar or something.
S4, north of that area. And so Bob Lazar, George Knapp, myself, and I think Gene Huff, who was Bob's friend, we all go out there. Well, unbeknownst to me, Bob has a Mylar balloon, which really bounces the radar signature a lot for its size, and a bottle of gas, helium. So we find our way back out in the desert out there. We're I'm thinking we're on a UFO watch, which is always fun. Sometimes the best thing is the food you take along, right? And you're out there under the stars, and it's nice, and you have a good time just watching. So, but there's a rustle of things going on here, and next thing I know, there's a balloon, this Mylar balloon's inflated, and there's a slight breeze, and Bob lets it go. And we're on the opposite side of the mountain range from supposedly S4. And he wants to go that way. Thank God the wind was going in the opposite direction. It was traveling north instead of south. And it went the wrong way. So I'm thinking my life's just passed before my eyes.
Why do you think your life passed before your eyes? Because if the balloon goes towards Area S4,
it's going to get picked up. Yeah,
and then they're going to go find out where it came from.
And Wackenhut Security is going to come get us, and I'm going to spend the night in jail.
Right.
So it all just unraveled real quick.
And was this before Bob had gotten in trouble for bringing people to the observation point to watch? Because let's tell a story about Bob real quick. Bob said he worked for Area S4, and he was hired to back engineer what they believe were alien crafts. Along the lines, he had this top secret clearance, and along the lines of all this happening, they're monitoring his phone calls. Turns out Bob's wife is having an affair. Bob doesn't know about this. They remove him from the project because they believe he'll be emotionally unstable if he's freaking out, not knowing that his wife is having an affair, not knowing why he's pulled from this project, doesn't totally understand. So starts telling people about what he's doing and telling people, listen, I can take you to a place where once a week they do these tests. So he starts bringing people to this area. They see these objects flying in these spectacular ways that we really can't do with any of our conventional aircrafts. And then Bob gets in trouble for that. And then Bob goes on the George Knapp show and starts explaining all these different things, presumably for self-preservation, because the best way to probably protect your own life is to go public with this and explain everything that's happening. And they can discredit you and make you look like a nut, but if they kill you, then it leads credence to your story.
Yeah, it gives you a very huge hardship.
So when do you fall into the story?
Well, you've just given me an overload of information now that I'm pretty much aware of, but I don't know exactly when. I don't think, as I recall it, everybody was pretty much at ease, and it wasn't part of...
What year is this that this is all going on?
Oh, God. I don't know, 91?
So this is around that time. This is around... 91, when was he on George Knapp's show?
Yeah, somewhere in that time frame. But I wasn't aware of a lot until I don't think at that time I was aware of him taking people out on, Wednesday nights to go see something out there. I kind of missed out on that or whatever. And I don't think this was anything like connected to that.
I think that was before this.
Yeah, probably.
That was, I think you're dealing with him out after, he had met George and after he had told his story.
Yeah.
Because George is with you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously they had already met.
Oh, sure.
So what was your initial... obviously, you're a person that has a deep fascination with UFOs. Now, here you are talking to this guy who's clearly a genius, brilliant guy, Bob Lazar, and he's telling you this fucking bananas story. He's out there back engineering spacecrafts that came from another land that are using this element 115, this stuff that's just a theoretical element that wasn't even proven by particle collider until 2013, somewhere along that line. Like, it was just theoretical up to that point. So he's telling you about all this stuff. What did you think?
I wanted to reserve judgment until I knew a lot more. And the more he talked, the more interesting it became. The more research that George did, things that he uncovered, it became more interesting. And so, as I said a while back, I think George was doing an interview with me, and I said, I wouldn't bet against the truth of the majority of everything that Bob has said. I wouldn't bet against it. Could they be errors and omissions for different reasons? Yeah, sure they could. But I would tend to say Bob is legitimate, and there's certain aspects of things that are parts of stories that you wonder, well, how could this happen and so forth. But I think if you take all of the collective information and the work that George Knapp has done to validate things, it's awfully damn impressive.
But George is such an important part of it because he's a legitimate investigative journalist, and that was his career. And so he poured himself into this.
Oh, yeah.
And exposed all the different aspects of this story that seem to indicate that he's telling the truth.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
and that's what's crazy about it.
And George is not any normal journalist. He's like what? He has like 6 Peabodys.
Yes, he's fantastic.
And
so he's diving into this, and the more he uncovers, the more it seems like Bob Lazar's story is legitimate.
Right. So I think I like the philosophy of reserving judgment until you have a preponderance of evidence that really moves you one way or another. You don't have to have 100%. I go by reasonable doubt.
But what was it like for you to be this guy who's had this deep fascination with flying saucers, and here you are talking? Like, let me tell you my experience with Bob. Doing the podcast with Bob, I wanted one of two things. I wanted to go, oh, this guy's full of shit. Or I wanted, whoa, this guy's, it seems like he's not full of shit. I think he's telling the truth. I think this guy really did encounter these aircrafts and really did work on these spaceships, whatever they are. That's where I'm at right now. My experience with him, my communication with him, he didn't seem like he was full of shit at all. He's clearly a brilliant guy. His story has not changed at all over the 30-plus years that he's been saying it. It's a crazy story. But when you are a person like yourself, me even more than I, who is obsessed with this subject, the possibility of alien life that's visited this earth, and maybe even left crafts behind, and maybe these crafts are in the possession of some secret government agencies that are trying to observe them and back engineer them. What is it like to talk to this guy? Because this guy has seen the thing you're looking for. This guy, you're searching and all of your wondering and staring out into the heavens, and here's a guy that has actually touched it, actually worked on it, been inside one, tried to figure out how they work, can't do it, doesn't understand it. Is talking to these people. Everything's compartmentalized. You got the metallurgist people that are working on the what kind of alloy this thing is made of. You got him, who's a part of the people that are trying to understand the propulsion system, and then you've got people that are giving you this information that, like, maybe they have been here forever. Maybe this is a part of an archaeological dig. Maybe they've been trying to study these things for decades with no advancement at all.
Yeah. So we came across, or myself and a couple other people came across folks who could collaborate some of the things going on out there. Such as silent craft actually lifting off at nighttime, not looking as though the control was very good, but actually lifting off, maneuvering like a real small trial kind of thing. And that fellow observed it from a distance where he wasn't supposed to be. George has come up with collaboration, I think, from 2 or 3 other sources also, besides what Bob said, about certain aspects of things out there. It's just that Bob's story is so much more in-depth, so much more detailed, like that book that he talked about years ago coming across. Amazing things.
So tell people about the book?
Well, there was a book. As I remember, there was some kind of a book that Bob was allowed to look through, or he seized the opportunity to do it when he was in a room where the book was, but I think that was by design. And it was some kind of a holographic book that as you opened up the pages, whatever the stories were became a hologram. That's my recollection of a conversation that's decades old now. So, if I got it wrong, fire me.
I understand.
You'll have to talk to Bob about that, would you?
Okay.
Or talk to George.
Okay.
And because I remember something like that. I mean, that was like, wow, what an amazing way to portray information in some kind of a book and actually have holographic images coming forth out of the, I don't know. It just was, so that I have never heard of that being repeated any place in terms of something else like that happening. And so much that happened to Bob, it was so unique.
There was also some very strange summary of what they understand or what they believe to be true about the origins of human beings, and that they believed that what these visitations were about was that human beings are the product of accelerated evolution, and that these species from wherever had been coming here and doing genetic experiments with primates and created human beings, which is the ultimate, like, who knows, like, wow, that's fun to think about. But we were talking about this last night, like how bizarre humans are, that out of all these things on Earth, we're the only ones with shoes. Out of all these things, we're the only ones that have to wear clothes. We're the only ones that jump into metal boxes with rubber tires and roll around on these hard surfaces that we created, or fly in planes, or send video through your phone to other people that are on the other side of the continent. We're weird. We're real weird. We're way weirder than anything else that exists. And if we are really a product of some sort of accelerated process like that, this is how they get the party started on these planets. They find semi-intelligent, curious animals that are using tools or using, opposable thumbs, and they do some things to them.
Yeah, there's a large variety of potential beginnings. More evidence for some than others, right? So that's always the trick.
Have you considered that? Is this like a subject that you've deeply considered and thought about?
Not really.
Really?
I'm here. I don't want to look a gift horse in the face. I'll take it for what it is,
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
I think about it a lot.
I don't know. I think I need more evidence to be more curious about. I'm more concerned about other kinds of things that are now than where did the human species come from, particularly. I'm more driven by other kinds of things that could make a difference today, going forward.
So getting back to the Bob Lazar thing, when you first got to know him and you first were considering this story and how crazy it was, what was it like to meet a guy who, at least by his own accounts, had encountered this thing that you were seeking?
Well, Bob's a likable guy. He, as you said, he's very smart, and so he's interesting to talk to, right?
Yeah.
And so that's more than just entertaining. To listen to his story is profound, right? So it gives you an awful lot to think about and to try to position as to how can you measure future information you might get against that story. How can you verify different kinds of things? And so I've heard a lot more silly things, I think, than what Bob was talking about. Didn't seem all that ridiculous. And then the more you get to talk to him, the more you get to know him, and people like George, who's an investigative journalist, it gets more and more, wow.
Can I bring your attention to something that's been happening on the internet since we've been live?
Yes.
President Trump was asked about Obama talking about the aliens. I got a video on the screen.
Oh, perfect.
I want to hear it myself.
Yeah.
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
So aliens are real?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
Well,
he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president.
I do now.
So if you want to make an announcement.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
We know illegal aliens.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying. That's hilarious.
What else?
That was it. What's going around the internet? These in the circles of these.
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying. Jeez, I hope he does.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Imagine you can get in trouble as a president for saying aliens are real.
I don't think so, man. I don't think he's gonna get in trouble for that.
Well, what did he say then? What was that?
They've been saying there's aliens. Like,
Right, but what did he just say?
he just hates Obama. He's going like, oh, he's going to jail. I'm getting Hillary and I'm getting Obama for aliens.
They all hate each other and then they all hang out and shake hands.
Yeah. Yeah, whose funeral was that when like George Bush and them were handing out candy to each other? It was like George Bush and
Well, George Bush and Michelle Obama are apparently friends.
oh, they're buddies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which everybody thought. But George Bush never engaged in like this insult kind of thing that Trump does.
It's true.
It's a different thing. you
Yeah,
know?
it's totally That's
He was
totally
always
true.
very classy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and especially when you see the videos of him back in the day, like now you're like, man, this guy's like lovable.
Oh, dude, in comparison to the politicians
That's
of
what I'm
today,
saying. Yeah,
he was like, oh, when is he running again?
the guy's a complete class act. And then you're like, oh yeah, fuck the Middle East, forgot about that. But it's like,
Oh, yeah. Well, he had Satan on his side.
yeah, true,
Dick Cheney was
true.
running around fucking shooting his friends in the face and hunting trips.
That's true. I don't know. I mean, that thing is like, was it classified? It's like now, but then if Trump's going to be like that, he gave out classified, then he's letting you know it's classified. So
Right.
he's telling you the cat's out of the bag. So
Well, he's saying I may declassify it. I hope he does. I hope this like gets
Yeah.
him, because that is a weird thing to say. He's not supposed to be saying that. Well, that means it's real. He gave out classified information. That means there's real data that aliens are real. That's the only thing you could draw as a conclusion from that statement.
yeah,
Right?
yeah, you would think.
I don't think is it. I would try to come up with another reasonable way. He would say aliens are real. You shouldn't say that because it's classified.
Yeah,
That means it's real.